The Cursed Seat Part 1. The rain drummed softly against the metal roof of the bus stop as the man waited, his posture still, his eyes unreadable. He was gaunt, his clothes tattered, blending into the city's forgotten corners. His fingers traced the warm fabric of the bus seat as he whispered something low and unintelligible. The other passengers paid him no mind, too lost in their own thoughts to notice the subtle movements of his hands, the way his nails scraped against the seat vinyl, leaving behind something unseen. As the bus rumbled to a stop, he rose without looking back, his departure as unremarkable as his presence. Moments later, Ada stepped onto the bus, shaking the dampness from her coat. The day had been long, and exhaustion clung to her like a second skin. With barely a glance, she slid into the recently vacated seat, sighing as she leaned her head back. The scent of something faintly metallic clung to the air around her, though she couldn't quite place it. The city's flickering streetlight cast elongated shadows through the windows, distorting the reflections of passengers into something almost unnatural. As the bus lurched forward, a cold shiver rounded her spine, and for the first time she felt it, an unseen presence pressing in on her. The sensation was subtle at first, like the weight of an unseen gaze. Then it grew. The bus overhead lights flickered once, twice, just enough for her to notice. Her breathing quickened as the faint whisper, too hushed to make out, brushed against her ear. She snapped her head around, but the seat behind her was empty. Her pulse stuttered. Something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones, in the way the shadows pulled unnaturally at her feet. And then, just as she was about to move, the lights cut out completely. The lights flickered back on after a few moments as the eerie silence lingered, pressing down on her chest. Ada's heart hammered in her throat as she looked around. No one seemed disturbed. The other passengers were lost in their own world, oblivious to the strange atmosphere that clung to the air. Her fingers gripped the edge of the seat, nails biting into the worn fabric. She tried to shake off the feeling, but it refused to leave. Her breath quickened as a faint pressure began to build on her chest, almost as if the air itself was thickening around her. Her eyes darted to the rear mirror above, but the reflection was odd, distorted, like a dark fog hung around her figure, creeping into the image of the passengers around her. For a moment, she thought she saw a shadow move, fleeting, just out of the corner of her eyes. Her pulse quickened as she turned her head sharply, but there was nothing. She closed her eyes, trying to steady her breathing. It was nothing. She had to calm down as the bus bumped over the potholes in the road. A low hum vibrated through the seat beneath her. It wasn't the sound of the engine, nor the usual rattling of the bus. This was something deeper, something unnatural. And then, through the hum, she heard it, a voice whispering her name. Ada. She froze, a cold grip of fear seizing her heart. It was so soft, so faint. She thought it might have been a trick of the mind, but it wasn't. The voice, familiar yet foreign, pulled at the edges of her consciousness. She turned sharply again, but the hour remained empty. No one was looking at her. No one was listening, but the hum grew louder. The voice louder until it was almost deafening in her ears. Get off! Get off the seat! Ada's breath caught in her throat. The voice was still there, soft and faint, like someone standing just behind her. She quickly turned around, but the seat behind her was empty. Her hands began to shake. It wasn't just in her head. Someone or something was trying to speak to her. Get off! The voice whispered again, louder this time. The air around her felt colder, heavier, as if the shadows in the bus had grown bigger. Ada's heart raced, and she looked down at the seat she was sitting in. It felt different, like it was holding her, trapping her. She wanted to leave, to get off the bus, but her legs wouldn't move. It was as if the seat had a grip on her, a force she couldn't fight. The lights flickered again, and Ada jumped, her eyes wide with panic. The shadows seemed to stretch longer, wrapping around her. The voice spoke once more, this time clearer, more urgent. Leave now before it's too late. Ada's breath came faster. She had to do something. She had to do something. Anything. But her body felt frozen, as if it didn't belong to her anymore. She couldn't explain why, but she knew deep down that she had made a mistake. She shouldn't have sat in this seat. And now, something terrible was happening. Ada's eyes scanned the bus, looking for anyone who would explain what's happening, but everyone seemed normal, too normal. The man across her was staring blankly out the window, his face emotionless. The woman next to him was reading a book, her eyes glued to the pages as if nothing was wrong, but Ada could feel it. The air was heavy, like something was waiting to pounce. The voice whispered again, but this time it was closer, right in her ear. Don't look at them. Ada's body stiffened. She wanted to scream, but her throat felt tight. The bus rattled as if it sped down the street, and for a brief moment, she thought she saw a shadow move from the corner of her eye. It wasn't a normal shadow. It was darker, thicker than others. The shadow seemed to pause, almost like it had a life of its own. She turned her head quickly, but the shadow was gone. Had she imagined it? She wasn't sure anymore. The longer she sat there, the more she could feel something pulling at her, something dark and unseen. Her hands trembled as she gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles turning white. She had to get off. She had to leave before it was too late. But when she tried to stand up, her body refused to move. It was as if the seat had trapped her. The whisper came again, this time urgent, sharp. Move, Ada. Move now. Ada's heart raced. She could feel something, someone watching her, but she didn't know where they were. Ada's breath was shallow, her chest tightening with every second. She tried to stand up again, this time using all her strength, but it felt like the seat was holding her down. Her legs felt heavy, as if they were being weighed by invisible hands. She looked around, desperate, but no one seemed to notice. The bus moved along the dark street and everything seemed so normal, but she wasn't normal anymore. The shadow grew longer, sketching across the eye and creeping toward her. Ada could see them now, thin, black shapes that seemed to have no edges, like smoke and darkness itself. They shifted and twitched, almost alive, crawling slowly toward her. The temperature in the bus dropped. Her breath became visible in front of her, but no one else seemed to notice the cold. The voice spoke again, louder and more frantic. Don't let them touch you. Ada's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to scream, to shout, to run, but she couldn't move. The street was holding her in place, and the shadows were closing in. She could feel them now, brushing against her skin like icy fingers. A chill ran up her spine as she fought to break free, but the harder she struggled, the tighter the invisible grip on her became. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her leg. Something had scratched her, but when she looked down, there was nothing there. No mark, no blood, just a deep, unsettling emptiness. Ada's pulse raced as she finally managed to push herself off the seat. The shadows seemed to recoil, like they were reluctant to let her go. But she fought against them. Her legs were shaky, but she stumbled towards the bus door, desperate to get off. With trembling hands, she pulled the lever, the door creaking open, just enough for her to slip through. She didn't look back. She couldn't. As soon as her feet hit the pavement, the cold sensation lifted and the weight on her chest eased. For a moment, Ada stood there, breathing in the cool night air, trying to gather her thoughts. The bus drove away, disappearing into the darkness, leaving her standing alone on the empty street. She had escaped, but something felt wrong. Her hands went to her face, her heart suddenly sinking. She felt different. Her reflection in the bus window showed trembling, but there was something else, something missing. She wasn't sure if at first. She became clear as she looked deeper into the glass. Her eyes, once full of life and hope, were dull. The brightness, the spark that made her Ada, was gone. She reached for her chest, instinctively touching the place where her ambition, her drive once lived. There was a hollow emptiness. A part of her had been taken, something vital, something that made her who she was. Then the truth hit her. The man on the bus, the ritual, the seat. He hadn't just trapped her, he had stolen her glory, her chance at greatness, her energy, her future. All of it has been siphoned away for one thing, to make him rich. He had used her, drained her, and now she was left without nothing, just a hollow shell of who she had been. And now she realized it was too late to get it back. Ada walked slowly down the empty street, the weight of the realization pressing on her chest. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so empty, so small. Her footsteps echoed in the stillness of the night, but they felt distant, like someone else was walking beside her. The world around her was still, too still. The street lights above flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch toward her, as if reaching for her. She tried to think, tried to piece together what had happened, but her mind was foggy. All she could feel was that emptiness inside her, the hole where her future used to be. The part of her that once dreamed, that once felt alive, was now gone. The city, which had once felt like home, now felt foreign, like a place she no longer belonged. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw him, the man from the bus. He stood under the streetlight, watching her with cold, empty eyes. His face was familiar, but it was also wrong. The way he stood there, almost motionless, made her skin crawl. The shadows seemed to twist around her, clinging to him like a second skin. And then, as if reading her thoughts, he spoke. "You can't escape, Ada," he said, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. "You are mine. You always were." Her body tensed, her heart skipped a beat. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. The fear gripped her tighter than any force she had ever known. She had tried to escape. She had broken free from the seat, from the bus, but it was clear now there was no true escape from him. "Why me?" Ada whispered, her voice trembling. "Why did you do this?" He smiled, a cold, cruel smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You were chosen," he replied. "Your glory, your light, is the key to everything. I needed it, and now it is mine. The world will bow to me and you." He paused, his smile widening. "You will never be the same again." Ada felt the world around her grow darker, the shadows closing in on her. She wanted to scream, to fight, but the emptiness inside her kept growing. She had no strength left, and as she stood there, paralyzed by fear and loss, she realized with a sickening certainty that her life would never be the same again. Ada stood frozen, unable to move as the man's words sank in. Her mind raced, trying to process the depth of what he was saying. "Your glory, your light." She repeated his words, as if trying to understand them. It felt impossible. How could something so personal, something that was once hers, be taken so easily? And how could he stand there, smiling as if it was all a game? The darkness around seemed to grow, swallowing the streetlight and casting long, unnatural shadows. The man's presence felt suffocating, his power palpable in the air, thick and healthy like smoke. Ada wanted to run, to escape again, but her body refused to cooperate. She couldn't tear her gaze away from him, couldn't escape the haunting truth that he had won. "Please," she whispered, her voice small and weak. "Let me go." His eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction as he took a step closer, the shadows swirling at his feet. "You don't understand," he said, almost pityingly. "This was never about you. It was always about what you carried, and now I have it." He raised his hand slowly, and the air seemed to shimmer with the weight of his power. "You are free to leave," he said, as though granting her a mercy, "but nothing will ever be the same. The world you once knew, it's gone." Ada's heart raced. She could feel it now, the heavy weight of the loss pressing down on her soul. The world had always felt like a place of opportunity, a canvas she could fill with her dreams. But now, it was as if the color had drained from everything. Everything felt muted, unimportant. She was a hollow version of herself, as she could never go back to what she had been. A sharp pain shot through her chest as she gasped, clutching at her heart. The pain was unbearable, like something vital had been ripped away from her. leaving an empty, aching void. She staggered backwards, but the man didn't move, his gaze still fixed on her with that cold, knowing smile. "You will never recover what you lost," he said softly, "but you will always remember." And that, Ada, is the real punishment.